Good morning friends and welcome to the pre-market view. We are seeing continuation of the global market rally for the past 4 days now, and even yesterday most of the markets were up anywhere from 0.5% to almost 1.5%. Even European markets were up about 0.5 to 1.5, and US markets were up about 0.3 to 0.5%. And the key trigger was provided by the indication that the central bank in US may consider aggressive bond purchase to ease the liquidity in the marketplace, and which led to some kind of a positive sentiment in the markets. Even when we look at the Asian markets today, most of them are up about 0.5% to 0.75%. There was a data point from Japan wherein the trade surplus has actually declined for the 16th consecutive month, but we are seeing a very positive reaction by the Japanese markets, and they're up almost about 1.5% today morning. When we look at the SGX Nifty, it's also up about 25 to 30 points. So we're likely to open around 53.65 to 53.70 levels in the morning. And talking about the flows, friends, very strong buying by the FIs in the cash market. Yesterday also they were biased to the tune of 816 crore, and the domestic institutions were also buyers after a long time of only about 55 odd crores. So friends, we are seeing continuation of the FI flows, and which is reflected in the way the market has moved in the past about 2 days. And as we have been saying, the only point of concern at this point of time looks like the Brent crude price, which has also shot up to almost $111. So if Brent crude continues to remain above 105 levels, and if it goes up further, then definitely it could cap our markets upside from here on. On that note, I would invite Shaival to take us through the important F&OQs and the possible ideas that we could look at.
Good morning friends. In spite of being short positions build up in yesterday's trade in the market, we have seen that FIs were a net buyer of around 2,500 crore after a long time, and we have also seen that the PCR ratio has jumped from 1.08 to 1.15, which is a good sign. Also, we have seen that around the mark of 1, when the PCR ratio comes around the mark of 1, we have seen that the markets have seen sharp bounces, and it has continued its uptrend. In yesterday's trade, what we have seen is that the implied volatility has cooled off marginally, which has been indicating that the bias for the market is positive, as we have closed about the weekly, VWAP, which we were maintaining of 5,300. So on the higher side, 5,400 would be the probable hurdle for the market in the coming trading sessions. Now, focusing on the individual strikes perspective, what we have seen is that 5,100 put option followed by 5,200 put option stands with highest number of shares in the open interest, whereas on the call side we have been seeing that 5,400 call option stands with the highest number of shares in open interest followed by 5,500 call option. So what we feel is that 5250, which is the VWAP, would act as a support or would provide a cushion to the market for the current week, whereas on the higher side 5,400, as I said, on the weekly basis would act as a hurdle, or we can say can be targeted in coming trading sessions. Also, what we feel is that above 5,400 aggressive short covering would take place, and which would probably lead the Nifty towards the higher targets of 5,500, 5,550. From the intraday perspective, the DCB Bank is looking positive with support of 41 rupees 60 paisa. Exide Industry is looking positive with support of 129 rupees, and Tata Steel is looking positive with support of 402 rupees 70 paisa.
Friends, back home we had a very good session yesterday, and the market actually managed to surpass important resistance levels pretty easily, and 5300 has been conquered, and overall participation is coming from various sectors, be it the private sector banks or autos, technology, and some of the other heavyweights like Reliance. So we think that this is definitely a good sign. And the other important point is that the monsoon session of the parliament is going to start from today, and one will have to watch and see how the government deals with the issues coming out from opposition, and important bills which are tabled, about 31 odd bills. What really happens on the fate of those bills, because if we see some positive cooperation from the opposition and some of those bills get moved, then definitely it could help the sentiment. Friends, talking about the news today, there are news for EIH whereby 180 room property is going to be developed by Reliance Industries, and it's going to be managed by EIH. As some of you would know that Reliance Industries has picked up about 14.5% stake in EIH, and there were indications that Reliance Industries has big plans to foray into hotel space. So this is going to be the first joint launch of such property, which is positive for EIH. So one can go long with a stop loss of 81 and a target of about 84.5 to 87. Tata Steel has commenced the feasibility study for acquisition of 2 mines in Canada to support their steel operations from Europe, and this is definitely positive for Tata Steel. One can go long with a stop loss of 396 and a target of 418 to 426. Friends, Dish TV is going to launch a standard definition set-top box which will have an unlimited recording facility, and overall, because of the digitization which is happening, there is a lot of buying interest for such stocks. So one can go long on Dish TV with a stop loss of 71.60 and a target of 75.5 and 77. Also friends, Dr. Reddy is going to launch Monte Calucast tablet in US market, which has a potential of almost $3.6 billion. So one can go long on Dr. Reddy with a stop loss of 1622 and a target of about 1705 to 1735. Friends, negative news for Coal India, and their board has finally agreed for a penalty of up to 40% if it fails to supply about 50% of the committed quantity. There are different slabs at which they will have to pay the penalty if they fail to supply the required coal to the company, and this is definitely a big negative, because earlier there were indications that Coal India may not agree for such a FSA and they would not be willing to take a hefty penalty on their books. But this is definitely a negative development for Coal India. One can go short on Coal India with a stop loss of 352 and a target of 334 to 328. That's it from all of us friends on the news front. Have a great trading session. See you tomorrow at the same time.